Welcome everyone, and today I would like to share something with you which is the importance of brand marketing strategy for biotech startups in Taiwan. So how do world leading corporates achieve their objectives and how can you do it yourselves? This is what I'm going to show you in this framework in the next slides. My name is Nelson Farfan Espada and I'm Managing Director of Ztarkbond GmbH in Germany. Ztarkbond GmbH is a strategic international marketing and venture development company based in Frankfurt, the financial capital of Europe. We develop strategies, we create brands and implement them into bringing them to innovations for globalization and finally exits through M&A transactions. What we do basically is on one side we recover business performances. So for example, there are companies that are having issues, competition and so on. We help them to recover this, to regain strength. In the middle, we strengthen brands presence for companies that would like to, let's say mid-sized companies that would like to get stronger and to be able to build a sustainable shareholder value. And last but not least, companies that are actually trying to achieve market leadership or to increase gap to competition and or are wishing to exit through mergers and acquisitions. So let me explain a little bit about my background so you can see just a little bit about what I do, where I come from. And on the right side you see the multinationals where I grew up with. I was a global leading manager responsible for many brands at Abbott Diagnostics, Merck Pharmaceuticals, Gillette, Oral-B, Procter & Gamble, and also have now with my team we have clients like Kenwood, DeLonghi, Toyota, and many others. In the academics part, I do a lot of presentation at key universities like HKUST and also in St. Park at the NCTU or other leading universities in Germany. And my favorite part of all are the startups. I have many startups that I help with, and especially in Taiwan, Breeze Care, which is an AI air purification company, which I'm working with for 3 years. Also Brain Navi, robotic surgery. So how do the world leading champions actually do it? So what I'm going to take you through here is what is the recipe, how do they get it done, and basically for 1 second just close your eyes and think that the core of how these companies win is through marketing strategy. There's been a recent study by McKinsey and they analyzed hundreds of companies, and they came into the fact that it's obvious that the companies that are leading in the world, the leading companies, have marketing strategy as their core. That doesn't mean that the innovation, that the technology is put behind. No, that is a fundamental base for it. But once you have your product or service, you need to be able to communicate it to other countries, companies, consumers and customers. So you need to have your marketing strategy. How are you going to communicate your messaging? And this is very important for success into especially internationally. Important is helicopter view is something that when you go up and look with 30,000 feet, look what's happening down the ground, you have a bigger view, and the boat view when you're basically working on the ground. And the issue is being a smaller company, you're on the boats most of the time, you don't get to the helicopter view. And believe me or not, the biggest, most successful companies, they get inspiration, innovation and feedback from the outside. It doesn't mean that they do everything themselves internally, but they normally what they do, they get inspirations from the outside to help them to step out of their own field. And that is very important. Although they know how to look up very high and find the right strategic moves, that's why they also work with some major consultancies or strategic companies. So it's all about a mindset. The mindset is very important in order to win in this marketplace. I was at this in May. I was in a presentation at the Taipei Tech Arena, and I saw this wall, and it says "Fail often and you will succeed sooner." But I believe that you should do your homework, and you will succeed. I put some dices there because it's not about coincidence, about winning. If you prepare yourself, the chances that you win is going to be higher as compared if you fail. You're not you should have a mindset to win and not to fail. And again, it's a mindset that we should have. It's not about I like or I don't like. It's about your target group. If your target group, your customers and consumers are going to like and don't like it, then you should listen to them. It's not about your own personal opinion, what the CEO or CTO likes or doesn't like, or what their wife or girlfriends or friends liked it or not. It's about the facts or your target group. There's so much at risk, right? The smallest mistakes you make today, they could be dramatic to the end. So it's very, very important that you take very close attention into your marketing strategy and how you're going to market your products or services. So I've developed a strategic framework throughout the years, and this is similar what many companies they use, but what I've simplified is from a very complex into a more simplistic way that anybody can use. So marketing, wow, this is a very interesting word when I talk to many companies, and it's basically I hear, is this something simple? You get it done. Everybody's a marketing person anyway, just like everybody is a designer. But it's a science in itself to do the right marketing, and how is basically the execution, just to get it done right. You don't, for example, when you develop your products, you go through a process to develop, and the framework is very simple. You have a why, which is the analysis part. Who is your target? What is your offering? And how are you going to bring it to market? And this is a circle that goes around and around. And this is not the failing; it's improving. If you probably recognize here the 80%. 80% is the amount of time you should be doing analyzing and preparing your marketing strategy and your execution before you get into the how. Just like you, for example, develop your products, you're very dedicated. You invest a lot of time, effort, and hours, and really investment of this, and you do that. But do you do that also for your marketing strategy? Do you use the right tools that you use to be able to achieve? That is the question you should be asking yourself. And do you have the right people? Do you have the right teams to be able to achieve that? Well, the framework that I developed is very international to be used, and in different categories. On the left side, you see, for example, robotic surgery, or you have botulinum toxin, or on the very right side, you have a beauty products. You can have fashion beauty products, or you can have brain surgery. That's what I'm trying to say. And the method goes from a global perspective also to a local, because it's a strategic thinking way how to develop your strategies in order to win. And of course, this is a balance, efficiency between money and what you do, right? Because you shouldn't be over engineering this and investing a lot of time and money. It's a balance from what you do in terms of investment as well as the time you invest. So here you see some examples of some achievements that personally I've done also with my team, brought many companies to leadership internationally, locally, with startups, with global leading companies in pharmaceuticals. And all this is done, as you can see, it's a range of different areas. And the core competence is the strategic framework, how to build a successful B2C brand and shareholder value to increase sales and profits. Here you see BrainAvi. That's one example of some of the companies that I work with in Taiwan. Another one is here Suvius, which is coming soon. It's part of the Breeze company from Taiwan, startup. Since 3 years I work with them, and it's an amazing success story. You can follow up. Actually, this is a sneak preview that you can see, which is coming in the next weeks. Oral-B, you know it. I mentioned before, I was global responsible for this success of Oral-B in all the countries all over the world. And again, I'd love to tell you more about this, but we can do that in a separate case. Here you see a presentation set in Germany at some universities, or in NCTU and in Hsinchu Park. Anyway, so let me tell you about the strategic process. Basically, if you look at the very top, it's really wide, why. And when you look at the why, you analyze from many angles, many areas, and the more you analyze, the better. But again, you have to keep in mind that the more thorough homework you do, the better you will do. So once you do the analysis, the why, I'll take you through it a little bit later. You define your who, and you can see that it's getting more narrow. And then on defining the what. What is your offering, right? What is your strategic tools and how you're going to do it? And when you go into the how, of course, it gets wider because there's a lot of activities you need to do. Here you keep in mind that in the strategic analysis part and development, it's all about facts and data and facts. And this is a system that goes around and around, and you should always keep improving year after year. So on the why, which is a strategic analysis, which is a discovery part, there are many things you should be looking at. And actually, I'm going to attach to this the framework with a little bit more detail than this. But again, here in the why analysis, you need to look at your category, your competition. Category means the market you're in. Is it growing? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Who are the main players? And in competition, you really need to get a deep dive in your competition, understand them really who they are, how you can be able to beat them. What is your product strategy? What is your pricing strategy? What are the consumer behaviors? Who are they? What they want? What they don't want? And then you see, for example, there's SWOT analysis that you know. So if you have other analytical tools that you've learned that you use, you segment it into the why. And the more ways you analyze from different angles, the smarter you will be. And then finally, you have decision criteria and your conclusions and implications. Here, for example, there's a simple tool that I use that's very, very effective, and this is a competitive analysis. On the top, you can actually define what you want to compare. For example, if it's brand, right? Brand awareness. Are you inferior, the same, different, or superior? Brand could be also within the B2B, right? Are you well known in the category? If you're talking about I don't know, let's say dialysis, for example, right? Who are you? Or do you, in terms of, let's say, product performance and features, are you inferior? Where are you inferior? Where are you the same? Where are you different or superior? So once you go through this, you will be able to map out where you should be focusing within the compared to competition. And again, this is just one simple tool. There are many tools, but I don't want to overwhelm you with all of that. I just want to show you the big framework. Who is basically who is your target, who you're going to be going after. And keep in mind that we're not doing machine-to-machine learning, we're talking to humans. And if you are selling to any human being, then the human being will have some emotions, will have some behavioral aspects. They will follow somebody, they will believe into some influencers. And they also have the democratics meaning, for example, hospitals from private hospitals and then major capitals of the world. This is maybe demographic. And the influencer is maybe if it's surgeons or whoever. And then what is their behavior? What are the emotional needs that they need? And who is your target? Who is going to be being the core target, and which is strategic, and how you can expand your target. On the what is your offering? Your offering, you probably heard, you can Google that, is the 4 Ps, product, price, placement, and promotion. You define that, right? But you also need to define your communication strategy. How are you going to communicate your message? I'm not talking about what are you actually going to, what's your positioning statement, what are you going to write? This is the overall communication strategy today, tomorrow. It is sustainable compared to competition. Your marketing mix. You do have a marketing mix from a B2B level. Whenever you approach your target with different mediums, at fairs, at email, on websites, on studies, in social media, wherever you may be present, you are actually surrounding your customer. That is your marketing mix. And of course, your DNA. What is your soul of your company, of your brand, or your service? What is it? What is the equity? What is the brand character? What are the building blocks of this? So you need to define this very clearly. And this, once you have this is going to become, have a soul, have a life. And this is something very, very important in order to be different in competition and to be able to knock at the doors and them opening them for you. If you go to the how are you going to bring it to life and go to market? Here again, we're talking about humans, right? So we need to define this into the words. You define what are you going to say about what you have, what your product, your company, your service, your benefits. Why are you better than others? And keep in mind the senses. Normally when I have presentations, I ask how many senses do we have, and the answers normally that I get is 5, which is true. But the sixth sense is actually the feeling that we have, because otherwise we will be robots, right? So we do have the feelings, and we need to take advantage of that in our communication and our strategy, because 95% of humans make emotional decisions every day, and that is something very, very, very essential. Also, the experience. What is the experience that the target group will see from the beginning to an end? What is it like? What are they getting? Are they getting trust? Are they getting quality? Are they getting premiumness? What is it that they're getting, right? And then last but not least, your channels. Where you're going to be selling, where not. Sometimes you need to decide that you do not want to go into different channels. For example, if you're building a brand or go into that direction, and if you have a product and then you talk to me about Alibaba, then that's the last thing I would recommend you to go, because at Alibaba you're not going to build a brand. You're going to sell spare parts, a product, and people will fight on price. And you know what's going to happen? There will always be somebody who's going to make it a little bit cheaper with a little less quality. So the chances to win is very, very minimal. Last but not least, this is what I've been many people that have shown this, and some managers, they told me this is maybe one of the most powerful tools, and actually comes from Procter & Gamble, and it's a one-pager, very simple, defines where you play, right? What are you going to do, and how are you going to achieve your objectives? And this is the objective, goals, strategies, and measures. On the very, very top, you have your vision. Why do you do that? What is your mission? How are you going to achieve your vision through your mission? Something more personal, not only technical. It could be something combination of technical, but something very human, right? Because again, we're humans. The objectives must be written in words and in numbers, very clear what you need to achieve. And then once you have your objectives, you define your strategies. What is the strategy number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Let's say one strategy is to have number 1 is to have global expansion, or entering Europe, let's say. And then what are your metrics? How are you going to measure that? And what is your activation plan to the strategy number 1, which is entering Europe? For example, point number 1.1 could be, we're going to develop, we're going to have a website targeted for Europe. We're going to go to exhibition, maybe to the Medica. We're not going to go to this one. So everything you do, if you go, let's say, to a Medica, and within the Medica you have an activity to communicate your point of superiority, everything is going to be playing into the strategy that you're doing, the objectives you're trying to achieve, your mission, and finally your vision. So this is a very, very powerful tool, and I will send, like I said, a PDF file that you can take a look at that. Well, thank you. Again, my name is Nelson Farfan Espada, and you can follow me over on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Just Google my name, Nelson Farfan Espada, and you'll find me, and I'd love to be in contact with you. And if you have any questions, just don't hesitate, contact me. If you want to enter Europe, the US, and then entering with the leading international companies or markets, then you have the right address with us. And last but not least, if you're thinking about an exit or a future exit in mergers and acquisitions, yes, then you can also refer to us. Okay, so thank you again very much, and xie xie, and hope to see you in Taiwan soon. And please stay healthy and take good care of yourselves. Bye bye. Thank you.